Alright, the next video is almost ready to go, and it's another massive, world-changing topic.
Try to teach a monkey to build a gun.
I think we could use a palate cleanser first. So, on a totally unrelated note, I'm going to push that back a few days, stick on the schedule with these Something to Consider videos, and I'm going to talk about something I've been asked a lot this year for some reason. Specifically, I don't know why it kept coming up, but I've been asked over and over what my favorite Disney movie is. And I'm going to talk about it today because, to be honest, there's not just one, and they're not exactly Disney movies. I'm Tony Pearson, and here's something to consider. I think the best movies released by Disney are actually anime localizations. Let's talk about Hayao Miyazaki's work. If there's one thing Disney is pretty good at, it's knowing when they've struck gold. So it's hardly any surprise that their localizations of Hayao Miyazaki's films are fantastic, dubbed over properly by professional celebrity voice actors. Yeah, you still gotta watch the original Japanese versions to avoid some cuts, but if you're a Disney fan looking for more, or a not anime fan looking to broaden your horizons, this one's for you. Now, I've often heard Hayao Miyazaki called the Walt Disney of Japan, but frankly, I think his movies are better. The comparison probably comes from the quality of the animation itself. Miyazaki draws you into some of the most gorgeously animated worlds out there, and the visuals alone are worth the watch. But in truth, I've always found his films to be some of the best because they don't baby their audiences with simplicity. For as wonderful as most classic Disney films are, they tend not to be that deep, I think. Characters are generally archetypal figures representing good and evil, purity and corruption. They sing songs and talk about their feelings and usually change a bit by their film's ending. They're entertaining and powerful like the classic fairy tales they draw from, but at least in my opinion, they're not that believable, and the stories they're a part of tend to be pretty simplistic. In Miyazaki's films, this is not the case. On the surface level, they tend to tell similar fairy tale-like stories, probably why I loved these movies as a kid, but watching them as an adult, they get into some pretty deep stuff. Things are rarely as simple as good versus evil in a Miyazaki film, even though wicked witches and giant monsters are highly sympathetic characters. The conflicts in these films, like those in real life, are usually driven by the complex world around the characters more than by people just being good or evil. It's how these films are so believable and powerful despite their fantastical settings. Adult figures are caught up trying to make money and maintain their lifestyles. Governments wage nationalistic wars on one another, sweeping up people as they wreak a path of destruction. And younger people come face to face with a big, scary world, and their insecurities and fears are laid bare. The individual characters that Miyazaki's films focus on are complex, and their motivations are rarely simple. Again, they're sympathetic, and by empathizing with them, these movies ask you to think about how people are shaped by their environments and lives. Yubaba, the antagonist witch in Spirited Away, often comes off as cruel and uncaring, though later in the film you learn that she's a jaded single mother trying to run and maintain a very complicated business. The pirates in Castle in the Sky are a bunch of outcasts and thieves, but they're a family, and when push comes to shove, they're willing to lay down their lives to help protect the innocent. In Kiki's Delivery Service, there kind of isn't an antagonist, besides just the anxiety of growing up itself. Now, I could go on and on about these movies and their breathtaking worlds and complex, relatable characters, but the truth is that while these movies remain outside much of the mainstream, besides a few exceptions, Miyazaki's work has been well covered by many people with more filmic expertise than myself. I've linked to my favorite in the description, but from his early films, such as The Castle of Cagliostro and Nausicaa of the Valley of the Wind, to his famous hits like Spirited Away and My Neighbor Totoro, to his somewhat newer films such as Howl's Moving Castle and The Wind Rises, Miyazaki's films shouldn't be missed. They're fantastic animated pieces, on par with or surpassing Disney's films. They captivate and inspire children, and they provoke thoughts from older audiences. Often, they'll move to tears. Unfortunately, they can be a bit hard to find, but if you get the chance to watch a Miyazaki movie, please don't pass it up. You're missing out on some of the most powerful animation we've got. And if you're a Disney fan, you're missing out on some of the greatest work they've helped to release here in the US. I'm Tony Pearson, and this has been something to consider. You should watch a Miyazaki movie sometime.